None of you are good enough for me.
In the time when the baobab trees were young, and the rivers sang songs that everyone could understand, there lived in the village of Kwembe a woman whose beauty was spoken of in 7 kingdoms. Her name was Amara, daughter of Chief Ubani, and from the moment she could walk, the elders whispered that the gods themselves had taken special care in crafting her. Her skin was smooth as shea butter freshly churned. Her eyes held the depth of the forest pools where the ancestors bathed. When she moved through the marketplace, it was said that even the wind paused to admire her grace. But Amara's beauty was matched only by her pride. And oh, what pride it was! By the time she reached the age when young women began to consider marriage, Amara had already refused 17 suitors. 17, each one rejected with barely a glance, as if they were stones beneath her feet rather than men of good standing. "This one's teeth are too crooked," she would say, waving her hand dismissively. "That one laughs too loudly. How could I wake each morning to such noise? This farmer, his hands are rough as tree bark. How could such hands ever touch me?" Her father, Chief Ubani, would sit in his compound, smoking his pipe and shaking his head. "Amara, my daughter," he would say gently, "perfection exists only in the spirit world. Here we are all beautifully flawed." But Amara would simply smile that beautiful smile and say, "Then perhaps, father, I am meant for the spirit world, for I will accept nothing less than perfection." The village women clicked their tongues and whispered behind their grinding stones. "Pride," they muttered, "pride is a tree that bears bitter fruit." Amara's mother Enneka worried herself thin. She made offerings to the ancestors, asking them to soften her daughter's heart. But Amara remained unmoved, her standards as high as the mountains of the east. Time passed as it always does. The seasons turned like the potter's wheel, the rains came and went, the harvest was gathered and celebrated, and still Amara remained unmarried. Then one day, during the festival of the new yam, a stranger arrived in Kwembe. And what a stranger he was! He was tall, taller than any man in 7 villages. His shoulders were broad as a warrior's, his face carved with the kind of beauty that made even married women look twice and then look away, ashamed. He wore robes of the finest cloth, dyed in colours that seemed to shift in the sunlight, now blue as the sky, now green as new leaves, now gold as honey. He called himself Danjuma, and he said he was a trader from the northern kingdoms, though no one could quite remember which kingdom he named. When Amara saw him, something stirred in her heart for the first time. Something that felt almost like humility, but not quite. More like recognition, as if she had finally found what she had been searching for all along. Danjuma seemed equally captivated. He sought her out in the marketplace, speaking words smoother than palm wine, sweeter than wild honey. He brought her gifts, jewels that caught the light like trapped stars, fabrics softer than clouds, perfumes that smelled of flowers that grew in no earthly garden. At last, Amara told her mother, her eyes shining, "I have found a man who matches my worth." Her mother Enneka frowned, studying this too perfect stranger. "My daughter," she said carefully, "have you noticed that his shadow falls in the wrong direction, even at midday?" But Amara laughed. "You are seeing things, mother. You've worried so long about my marriage that now you see problems where none exist." Chief Ubani was also troubled. "This Danjuma," he said to the village elders, "no one can remember where he said he came from. His story changes like smoke, and have you noticed? The dogs flee when he approaches, the chickens fall silent." But when he tried to speak to Amara, she would hear none of it. "You rejected all those good men I brought you," he said, "men whose families I knew, whose ancestors walked the same soil as ours. And now you wish to marry this stranger we know nothing about." "You wanted me to marry, father," Amara replied coolly. "Now I have chosen and still you are not satisfied. Perhaps it is not my standards that are too high but your vision that is too narrow." The wedding was arranged for the next full moon. But the night before the ceremony, old grandmother Zola, the oldest woman in Kwembe, the one whose eyes had seen 90 rainy seasons, came hobbling to Chief Ubani's compound, leaning heavily on her walking stick. "I have had a dream," she announced, her voice cracking like dry leaves. "The ancestors have shown me the truth about this Danjuma." The family gathered close, even Amara, though she rolled her eyes with impatience. "He is no man," Grandmother Zola said, her clouded eyes fixing on Amara. "He is a spirit, a trickster spirit who feeds on human pride. He has done this before in other villages in other times. He finds the proudest woman, the one who thinks herself too good for mortal men, and he woos her with supernatural beauty and impossible gifts. Ridiculous, Amara scoffed. You are old, grandmother, and your dreams are confused. But Grandmother Zola continued, undeterred. He will take you to the spirit world, child, and there your pride will be your prison. You will spend eternity admiring yourself in mirrors that show only what you lack, surrounded by perfection that makes you feel forever inadequate. The very pride that made you reject good men will become your eternal punishment. Enough, Amara stood, furious. I will not listen to these jealous ravings. Tomorrow I marry Danjuma and we will leave this small-minded village behind. She stormed out, leaving her family in worried silence. That night Amara could not sleep. She told herself it was excitement about the wedding, but as she lay on her sleeping mat, Grandmother Zola's words kept echoing in her mind. And now that the old woman had mentioned it, Amara began to remember small things that had seemed odd but that she had dismissed. The way Danjuma never ate or drank when others were watching. The way his footsteps made no sound, even on dried leaves. The way he seemed to know her thoughts before she spoke them. And yes, his shadow did fall in the wrong direction. No, she whispered to herself, I am imagining things, he is perfect, he is what I deserve. But sleep would not come. Finally, when the moon was high, Amara rose and crept from her hut. She made her way through the silent village to the guest house where Danjuma was staying. She would prove to herself that Grandmother Zola was wrong. She would catch him sleeping, peaceful and human, and laugh about the old woman's superstitions. But when she peered through the window, the sight that met her eyes turned her blood to ice water. Danjuma sat cross-legged in the center of the room. But he was not alone. Around him swirled shapes of mist and shadow, other spirits, she realized with horror. And as they spoke in voices like wind through hollow trees, Danjuma's beautiful face shifted and changed, revealing glimpses of something else beneath. Something ancient, something hungry. The proud one has fallen perfectly into our trap, one of the shadow spirits hissed. Tomorrow she comes with us. Yes, Danjuma's voice replied, but it was layered now, multiple voices speaking as one. Her pride has made her deaf to wisdom and blind to truth. She rejected every good man, every genuine heart, because she thought herself too precious for ordinary love. Now she will learn what it means to be truly alone, trapped in a perfection that reflects only her own emptiness. Amara's hand flew to her mouth, stifling a gasp. She backed away from the window, her heart pounding like the village drums. She ran, not back to her hut but into the forest, into the darkness, her mind racing faster than her feet. Everything Grandmother Zola had said was true. Danjuma was a spirit sent to punish her pride, and tomorrow, if she married him, she would be lost forever. She ran until she could run no more, and then she collapsed at the foot of an ancient Iroko tree, the kind that was said to house protective spirits. There, in the darkness, Amara finally allowed herself to see the truth of who she had become. She had been so focused on finding someone perfect that she had failed to see the value in imperfection. Those 17 men she had rejected, yes, one had crooked teeth, but he had a laugh that could brighten the darkest day. Yes, one had rough hands, but they were rough from honest work that fed his family. Yes, one spoke too loudly, but it was because he was passionate about life, full of enthusiasm and joy. They had been real, flawed and human and real. And she had thrown them all away, because she had believed herself to be above the ordinary world, deserving of something extraordinary. Tears came then, real tears, perhaps the first truly humble tears Amara had ever cried. Ancestors, she whispered into the darkness, I have been a fool. I have let my beauty become a barrier instead of a gift. I have let my pride poison my heart. If you save me from this fate, I swear I will change. I will see with new eyes. The Iroko tree seemed to whisper in response, its leaves rustling though there was no wind. When dawn came, Amara returned to the village. She went straight to her father's compound, where her family was preparing for the wedding with heavy hearts. I will not marry Danjuma, she announced. Her mother Enneka gasped, but child, the preparations were for a wedding that would have been my death, Amara said. She turned to Grandmother Zola, who sat in the corner. You were right, Grandmother. I saw him last night, his true form, speaking with other spirits. He came to trap me, to punish my pride, and I nearly walked into his snare willingly. Chief Ubani stood and placed his hand on his daughter's shoulder. Then what will you do? Face him, Amara said simply, and choose differently. When Danjuma arrived for the ceremony, he was as beautiful as ever. The whole village had gathered, and there was a strange tension in the air. Everyone could feel it. Something was not right. Amara stepped forward, and for a moment Danjuma's eyes gleamed with triumph. But then she spoke. "I cannot marry you, Danjuma." His perfect face flickered, just for an instant, showing something else beneath. "Cannot, but yesterday you said I was the only man worthy of you." "Yes," Amara said, her voice steady. "And I was wrong, not about you being worthy, but about what worthy means. I have spent my life looking for perfection, but perfection belongs only to the spirits and the gods. I am human, and I deserve human love. Flawed, messy, imperfect, real love." The air around Danjuma seemed to shimmer. "You would reject me, I who am more beautiful than any mortal man." "Beauty without humanity is just a beautiful trap," Amara replied. She looked around at the gathered villagers. "I rejected good men because I thought I deserved better, but I was measuring worth by the wrong standards. I was blinded by my own reflection." Danjuma's form began to waver, like heat rising from sun-baked earth. "You have learned your lesson," he said, and now his voice was neither angry nor triumphant, but neutral, like a teacher stating a fact. "Pride brought me to you, but humility sends me away. The trap only works on those who believe themselves above ordinary love." And with that, he dissolved into mist and was gone, leaving behind only the faint smell of flowers that grow in no earthly garden. The village erupted in whispers and gasps. But Amara barely heard them. She turned to her father and said, "Of those 17 men I rejected, are any still unmarried?" Chief Ubani's eyes widened, then crinkled with a smile. "3 of them, daughter, 3 still wait, hoping your heart might change." "Then," Amara said softly, "I would like to meet them again, not to judge them by my old standards, but to see them with new eyes, to see them as they truly are." And so it came to pass that in the following weeks, Amara met again with those 3 men. She spoke with them not about their appearance, but about their dreams. She listened not to the sound of their laughter, but to the joy behind it. She looked not at their hands, but at what those hands had built and nurtured. In the end, she chose Olufemi, the farmer with the rough hands and the gentle heart, the one she had dismissed with barely a glance before. Their wedding was simple, nothing like the grand ceremony that had been planned with Danjuma, but it was filled with genuine laughter, real joy, and a love built on truth rather than illusion. Years later, when Amara became a mother herself, she would tell her daughters this story. She would tell them that beauty is a gift from the gods, but pride is a weight of our own making. She would tell them that perfection is an illusion that blinds us to the perfect imperfections that make us human. And on quiet evenings, when the sun set golden over the village of Kwembe, Amara would look at her husband's weathered hands holding their child, and she would smile. Because she had learned the truth that the trickster spirit had been sent to teach her. The most beautiful thing in the world is not a flawless face or a perfect form. It is a humble heart that knows how to love and be loved in return. And that, dear listeners, is where our story ends. May we all have the wisdom to see with eyes of humility, and the courage to choose reality over illusion.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more.